Very good, very good. Well, I'm going to officially start, and
Okay,
I'll let the others catch
me and
up.
you, Jim.
They look
Me
at
and you again.
Yep. As soon as they look at their emails, they'll see the link on here.
Yeah.
And just crossing my fingers that we're not creating havoc for them. But this week, I've spent most of the week putting together the Experts Academy Summit in La
Okay.
Jolla.
Yeah.
And I sent you a copy of the agenda for it, which is incomplete at this point. But we're going to arrive. I know that you're not able to be there for the event, but I wanted to make you aware of it anyway and put it into this recording. We're
It's almost
arriving.
like sending a picture. It's almost like putting a amazing apple pie in front of somebody who's dieting. And
Yeah.
Get the pie away.
Nah, smell it. It's delicious, and I want it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And let's say I'm going to write invitation sent. Invitation email sent again. So there you go. So she should be with us in a moment. But anyway, arriving on the 8th, on Cinco de Mayo, and we're going to have
Ah,
a barbecue outdoors on the patio of this home that I've rented, and then have a little music jam because there are going to be some guitars there. So that's going to be fun, right across the street from the
beautiful.
ocean, literally
Beautiful.
across the street from the ocean.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, so much so that one car length after you leave the door, you are in danger of falling in the water. Yep.
And you're having barbecue.
Say again?
You're having barbecue.
Yeah, to the barbecue, and then that'll be mix and mingle and get a sense of how the program's going to unfold over the next few days. And then the next morning, we'll have a 4-hour program in the living room of that house,
Mm.
followed by kind of a creative lunch outdoors on the coast, followed by a free afternoon, and then that evening, we will have a dinner in a kind of a creative, fun restaurant atmosphere, not a structured event, but all of us together. And that'll be nearby. And then the next morning, a full morning of program, followed by a free afternoon of excursions. And we'll have a menu so each person can choose. They're going to go to Balboa Park or go sailboat or kayaking in the ocean or
Wow.
hang gliding off of Torrey Pines or playing golf at Torrey Pines or whatever, I'll have a list of things available.
Have
And
you ever gone hang gliding?
um, no, I have not. I've done,
This is your chance.
I've been skydiving.
Really?
Yeah. And so I've done that, and I've done bungee jumping a couple of times and other high adventure things, but not hang gliding yet.
Well, this is your chance.
Yeah.
Right.
Although I am in charge of that afternoon. So anyway, we've got that followed by the first ever Certified Professional Experts Awards that evening. And that'll be a dinner. And I've already invited many of my Hall of Fame best-selling author kind of friends that live in the San Diego Metroplex to come in. People like Brian Tracy and Dennis Waitley and Ken Blanchard and
Oh,
Dan
wow.
Burris and Tony Alessandra and so forth.
What an honor that would be to meet them. Just being around people like that,
Yeah.
you just
And
grow being around them.
some of them are going to drop in on our morning meetings and, join the dialogue with us.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then the next morning after the banquet, and the banquet will be, press release kind of stuff, all kinds of things done for that. And it's not really a banquet, it's a dinner. It'll be a small event, probably a couple dozen people maybe. And so everybody gets time with all the shakers and movers. And then the next morning we'll have a short morning program, and then we're out from there.
Sounds great, Jim. Sounds really great. And I'm thinking, you know, it's funny because I'm listening on the airplane. I went to Vegas and then to Utah over this past week to meet with a convention and also to meet with some influencers. And I'm listening to I'm watching you give your video series. If
Yeah.
you didn't know. But I'm also, when I'm doing my hyperbaric chambers and I can't get the video, I'm actually listening to your tape series. Like I've got two things going on at the same time with you. And
Wow.
I remember you talked about making a decision.
Yeah.
One person wants to go here, one person wants to go there, and you said, and I just said, we're doing barbecue.
Yeah.
So you're mentioning barbecue right now as well. So you must like barbecue.
Yeah, I do. I love barbecue. But that was a frustrating evening because everybody in the family was sitting around trying to be nice to everybody else instead of somebody, the host, like me and my wife, stepping up and saying, okay, here's where we're going this evening. Everybody okay with that? Good, let's go. You know, because that's kind of what you expect when you're a guest. Instead of, what do you want to do? Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? Well, what are our options? I don't know. Well, do you like Italian? Do you like French? Do you like Mexican? Do you like, excuse me, anybody here okay with barbecue? Yeah. Okay, get in the car. You know, decision made. Indecision to me is a form of insanity and torture.
Hmm. Yeah,
Indecision.
yeah,
Because in a position of indecision, literally nothing is getting done and nobody's becoming happier.
right.
Nobody's being made to feel more comfortable. So in a moment of indecision or a time of indecision, it's temporary insanity. There's Kevin Davis.
I love that. That's really, really very, very workable.
Yeah.
Insanity and torture.
Yep. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, sorry
Welcome
about that. I had
aboard.
a
Hey, Kevin, how are you?
call and it went longer and I couldn't tell him I had to go. So
I've been there. I know what you're talking about.
yeah, sorry.
I'm gonna send another email to Christina, who's trying to get in and join us, but she's evidently getting the wrong link or something.
Okay. Hey,
Christina,
Jack, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Kevin, how are you doing?
I'm living the dream.
I love it. What state are you in? What state are you in?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought
Accent gives it away every now and then.
I thought Florida was the place where you say you're living your dream, but I guess every state has their own dream that people
Yeah. No, I've been living the dream most of my life.
I love it. I love it.
well, both of you have been through the process of the future you and the reputation creation.
I
And
couldn't find the reputation creation.
oh, you couldn't?
No, where was that?
It's in that files list when you scroll down
Okay.
There was
on the Facebook
there
page.
might have been two in there. I think I found one and I found the other one. It took me there was one of them that it took me a minute to find, but it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically what it
I'd have said
does,
template in front of it, template or something in front
Yeah.
of it.
Jay,
Okay.
Mhm.
basically what it does is takes one of the questions off of the future you and gives you a way to think about every subgroup that's in your world. Because when you look at your world, you've got clients, colleagues, family, friends, co-workers, neighbors, etc. You know, you got to, if you're involved in a church or a group, you've got that circle of friends as well. And every one of those groups, including your spouse and your kids being in a separate category, they all perceive you in some way. Well, for 99.99% of Earth, the way people perceive us is unintentional. We want it to be good and we do things hoping it'll be good, but we were never directly intentional about it. Okay. And
So I'm looking at the chapter heads. Kevin, which page did you find that on?
Hold on here. Let me go to it. So So Jim, one of the things while you're doing that, one of the things that I struggle with a little bit on that is I couldn't hardly differentiate in the groups. I almost wanted them all to perceive me the same, with the exception of my wife and my kids. But I was kind of like, I really didn't want to be something different to each group. Is almost I really wanted to be the same to every group.
Yeah.
That was where I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's what I kept in my mind. I kept going back to.
Well, the reason for getting granular about it
Mm-hmm.
is to give you that many different points of view toward you.
Mm-hmm.
And for most people, they have not done nearly the self-examination that you two have.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, seriously, between the three of us, we've probably done more reflection, more self-reflection than millions of people in the world,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Jay, which one are you looking for now? You're looking for the future.
Reputation creation.
Yeah, I know in the future you, he talks about how you want others to think about you, which I did, but I
Yeah.
couldn't find the actual reputation builder.
It's right above the template on this Facebook file. It's right above the template. I just download to make sure it was the same. Yeah, it was right above it in the files.
Right above what?
Let me go back here again.
Like what page was
I'm
it?
scrolling down through the file names, and where you see the template for going pro, on mine, reputation creation worksheet is right above it. And it was
Okay.
March the 12th, 2022 at 1:01 p.m. by Jim Cathcart.
Okay, I'm looking at professional growth acorns to oak trees, that the PDF file.
I'm in the Facebook group, going pro mentor program in files. Is where I'm at.
Yeah, that's where
Okay,
Facebook.
I went to the group that Jim added us to, and then up to the top, it's got a thing that says discussion, members, events, media, and files. And I went over to files, and that's where I found it.
okay, good. So that would be under the okay, relationship selling, thought diet.
Yeah, just if you keep scrolling down there, you'll see
Reputation creation worksheet, PDF, is that it?
Yeah,
I see, okay, good.
yeah. So all of these form, the workbook that goes with the Acorns to Oaks, it is a single PDF document. And that's very useful. The individual forms are in the files under the other. What's distracting me is this. Christina's having trouble getting in, and so let me just a second respond to her once again. I don't know what's creating that problem for her, but I'm gonna
I had a terrible time trying to get that Acorns course. I don't know, and I sent it to a couple of my buddies. They could find it, and it was something to do with one of my logins on my computer. I ended up doing something different and finally got it to work, but I thought it was a problem with the site. But sometimes this technical stuff is just finicky, and
yeah.
it had something to do with my computer. They had some kind of blocker or something in my computer that was, and
Okay, well, I'm really sensitive to the problem Christina's having, and that's what's causing me to pause here, and I apologize for that.
No
But,
worries. She's part of the team, we gotta get her.
yeah, exactly. And let's see if I can invite her differently somehow and get her in here, because that's a bummer. Copy the invite link. Okay. Messages, maybe I can message her from my computer. Christina. Paste. Well, we'll see what's going on. But anyhow, let's go back for a moment to talking about that. What's the deal with those two forms? When you have to get outside yourself and see yourself through other people's eyes and think about what do you want to be in their eyes and mind and heart, then it gives you a way of seeing you in a much richer and deeper way. And the task of articulating that forces you to take it from a feeling or a wish down to words. And when you see your own words, sometimes you adjust those words and you think, no, that's not what I meant. Other times, when you see those words, you say, yeah, that's exactly what I want. Well, what I want you to do is be able to compare all those subgroups and go for integrity. What is it that's a common denominator across all these groups that tells me genuinely, what kind of person do I want to be known to be? Because I want to grow into being the kind of person that my heart and soul is wishing for. And I want the world to see me that way. That makes sense?
Mhm.
Okay. And by the way, I was pointing out, Kevin, yours is written in past tense like an obituary.
Yeah.
Suggest you go back and change those words all to present tense. Because the
Mhm.
purpose of this is to make it a to-do as opposed to a if it had been. And I'll give you an example from my own life. Okay.
So.
There she is.
Mhm.
There she is. Thank heavens.
Mhm.
Hey, Christina.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
We all can. And
Okay,
thank
I
you
can't.
for continuing to do that. I was so mortified that you had that difficulty, and I apologize for that.
That's okay. I'm still trying to get on it on my computer because I'm on a phone and it's a little bit awkward for me. So
Oh, okay.
I'll see if I can
Yeah.
make this happen. It's not
I
working on my
use,
computer.
every time I communicate with you, it's the SBC Global email.
Yeah,
Every time.
that's perfect.
Okay.
That works. Okay, I'll just try to get, while you guys are starting off or talking still, I'm just gonna try to get on my computer. It'll be a lot easier for me to
Okay.
see everybody. Okay,
See
thanks.
this is a handwritten exercise that I did in a Stephen Covey workshop,
Mhm.
March 26, 1998. 98, seriously. It's 26 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a word. And
Mhm.
here it is. There's a mission statement experience. That's one side of the paper. And I didn't fill that one out, but this one I did. And it's tribute statement that you want a person to give you. The way I've changed it is reputation creation. How do you want other people to think about and talk about you, right? So here's what I wrote. These are my roles: husband, father, business owner and employer, partner, business partner, speaker, author, human being. In other words, to myself. Here it comes. This is husband. Jim always makes me feel loved and lovable. I admire his character and wisdom. His intelligence amazes me. He makes me laugh. Nobody has ever been as open and transparent as he is. This is how he teaches too. He makes me a better person. Well, that's an aspirational goal, not a reality. You know, that's the dream in my heart. But that's what I want coming from Paula when she thinks about me. So it gives me a lot of homework to do to live up to that. And of course, nobody can sustain it all the time, but still, if that's where you're headed.
That's where I missed it. Like you said, I wrote mine in past tense. Is what they would say about me. But all I got to do is say instead of loved, loves.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
exactly. It's an easy
so it
change.
sounds like what you just said is pretty close to what I said.
Yeah, yeah, there's a
Sounds
lot of overlap between you and me.
Yeah,
So
there was.
father, dad truly deeply loves me. He'd give his life for me. His own life is an inspiration to me that I can do and be as well. He's shown me that I am capable, worthy, and special. That's from my son, the way I wrote it. Business, Jim is what he preaches. He's real. He's an exceptional businessman. His integrity, wisdom, discipline, caring, and good with money, savvy, a good marketer. I want him to help me run all my businesses. And then on down at the end, I'll skip to the end. I've stayed fit and healthy. I've grown through all my life. I've made enhancements to the world, and I admire myself. Others are better off because I've lived. That's my legacy, articulated by me to me in a private exercise. So when you've got something that clear for you, it just gives you so much more power, so much more confidence, because you know what path you're on. What are your thoughts and reactions to that?
Can I ask you just a question about the process of writing that stuff out? I'm reading a book called Everything is Figureoutable, which is a really fun book that my daughter recommended I read, and I'm enjoying it. And she talks about having a journal. And she said to write everything out by hand because studies show that you engage more of your brain by handwriting it as opposed to typing it. What are your thoughts on that, as opposed to like typing out our answers?
Journals.
Ah,
I
okay.
love journaling. Now, when I started, it was not a journal. This was back in the 1970s. There you go.
Wow.
You got it too. Yep.
Mine's in, I use these 88-cent things just because they're easy.
Yeah.
But I've got stacks of these things that I just keep a new one, and then I keep it with me every day, and I've got a certain routine. And then at some point I got them, so I thought I'd put them in a 3-ring binder, but I never have taken them out. They're just in these, and
Sure.
but that's in my backpack. It goes with me everywhere where I'm at a hotel, whatever. I start the morning. Now, some days are better than others. I mean, some days I may do a quarter page, and some days I may do 5-6 pages.
Yeah. Same
Yeah.
here. And my
Yeah.
time was always, over the years, it was always breakfast time. It's still to this day, my most creative and productive time is when I first wake up, even before I get out of bed. And sometimes I will intentionally prolong being awake and laying in bed with my eyes closed just to think about all the things that are flooding into my mind. And so my discipline for 40 years was breakfast alone with a writing pad.
Wow.
Not with a stack of work, because that just starts the workday earlier. Breakfast alone with a writing pad. And I got that from Earl Nightingale's admonition, every day, spend a few minutes every day writing down this is my goal, write down ways to reach it. And he said, most of the ideas you come up with won't be any good, but a few of them will be absolute pure gold. And you won't find those few unless you do the many. And so that's what I did. And my staff used to hate it when I'd go to a convention, because I'd come back with stacks of notes and they'd say, oh no, he's reinvented everything. Here we go again. And sure enough, I would refine and improve everything we had going on. But I applaud you, Kevin. That's spot on. Whether it's journaling in a little handbook or a journal or on ring binders or whatever, if you've got it, it sure makes a difference. This ring binder goes back to, see that? I'm going to tell you what this says. December 15th, 1979. 79. December 15th of 1979, I went to High Point, North Carolina, to the home of my friend and colleague Nito Kubain, who today is the president of High Point University. At that time, he was a trainer, and he was young like me, rosy cheeked kid. And he was doing mostly youth programs for churches, youth leaders and things like that. And he had built a very successful business, making $300,000 or $400,000 a year. I was making about $130,000 at the time. And I bought a day of his time for what at that time was my full day fee, like $1,900. So today it'd be $25,000. And I went to North Carolina, and he I stayed in his home and he showed me everything he had, and then he gave me his entire client list. And I mailed to all those people, and it was awesome. But this is produce a report, a softcover book, build toward a series of these, do it as a consumable workbook, sell it for, wait for it, $7 each. The entire series for $49.95. Duplicatable material for cassettes. What? See quotes and articles from big name business people. Box it in a container like a series so it looks more important. Sell it on a subscription basis. And it just goes on. I've got days of notes from Nito. Oh, and it says my day. I just found out what the number was. It wasn't 19. My day is worth $1,250. That was December of 79. And then here's goals. January of 1981. I hadn't looked at this in ages. Ages. But I've got these, Kevin, going, all the way back like that. And coming forward to right now. And right now it's a little more chaotic, but
Yeah.
it's there. And I can just show you, pretty
Yeah.
simply right there, recent goal setting exercise.
Yeah.
So
The only thing that I've not done well is I've not kept and organized mine the way yours is.
Yeah.
The last few years I have, but I might have mine somewhere in a box somewhere, but I wished I would have done better at keeping it.
do you date yours?
Yes, I date now. I do, but now in the past I didn't. So the last few years I've done much better on that.
Yeah.
But when we were together in Key West, and you really give me a lot of confirmation there. I've told you that already, but man, you just did a lot of confirmation. But you also reminded me of some of the things I was not following through and doing, like making sure I date, make sure I do that, because that wheel of life, my version of it, I've done that. Oh my goodness, I can't tell you how many years I've been doing that.
Yeah,
And I do it whenever I get out of balance. I don't do mine like I don't say I'm gonna do it this day every month. It's just when I start feeling out of things aren't right. I just know they're not right. I go to that and I just dig down till I find, here's the problem. Let's
That's
address
right.
it. You know?
And just to assert that once more, every time you do goal setting or those kind of notes, date it.
Yeah,
Every
that's what I
time,
did.
because I
I didn't do that.
guarantee you will look back years from now and you'll be able to see patterns and trends, and you'll think, wow, I
Mhm.
wonder when that was. And if there's no date on there, it doesn't put it in context.
Mhm.
And the other thing is, you were talking about the wheel of life. The way I taught that when I first started, and I first started in 1974, that was when I was exposed to it. Oh my gosh, at a junior Chamber of Commerce meeting in Chicago. It was always about balance. Well, I've come recently to an awareness that balance is not and should not be your goal.
No.
Harmony.
Hmm.
Harmony. Because if you try for balance, you're going to get 1/8 of your life on each of the spokes: mental, physical, family, social, spiritual, career, financial, emotional. Well, 1/8 of you isn't worth much.
Mhm.
But 100% of you for a short burst is worth a fortune.
Mhm.
For 80% of you on a sustained basis, that's some valuable input. So go for harmony and use the checkup, the wheel, just to see what's been neglected recently.
Yeah.
So
So that's
Which wheel is this now? Which wheel are you talking about, Kevin?
just
So
a
it's,
circle with 8 spokes: mental, physical, family, social, spiritual, career, financial, emotional.
Is that in one of your documents somewhere?
I'm pretty sure it is, and it's also in the book, The Acorn Principle. It's also in the Mentor Minutes book.
Yeah. So like I showed you, Jim, I think you and I were saying a similar thing, because I had the same problem when I was going out that I felt like it wasn't feeling right. So I bring mine in. So my 10 is in because then
Yeah,
I'm in
I
my
like yours,
spot for
I
me.
like yours
I'm in
better that way.
that because I didn't know what you were saying, but what you were saying in my mind, I could not get balanced. It didn't feel right. I mean, when you take those things out, it never felt right. And so I just started pulling mine in. Okay, I'm where I need to be for me at this point in my life. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm where I'm at in this point in life because there's different, I'm in a totally different season now that some of those spokes I'm probably not going to be completely balanced in.
Yeah.
Uh,
And,
you know,
and
but I can be exactly where I'm supposed to be at that point in my life for me.
uh, just a second, I'll show you this. Okay, this is for you, Jay. The life wheel. 8 spokes, one down, one across, and then 2 diagonals. It gives you 8 spokes.
Okay.
All right.
And
And it's
that's,
just mental,
uh-huh,
physical, which would be body, MB, mental, physical, family, social, which would be friends, social. Uh, it could be beyond friends, spiritual, career, financial, just do a $, and emotional.
okay.
And so what you do is you consider the outside is 10, inside is 0, and you give yourself a ranking by putting a dot on the line where you feel like you've been lately in attending to the needs of that part of your life.
Okay.
Okay. And then you connect all the dots. And so it ends up with this bizarre looking trapezoidal, whatever, in the middle. And so you see something like that. Can you see those lines connecting the dots?
Oh, I see. So the inner thing is 0 and outer one is 10.
Yeah, or you could do it the other way around. Outer is 0, like Kevin does it, and inner would be 10 or a perfect score. And you think, how close have I gotten to my center in each of these areas? So do it whichever way works for you.
Beautiful. I love that. I'm gonna
Point
try
of
that.
it is for it to show you which part you've been neglecting.
Hmm.
Because I'll guarantee you the part you've been neglecting will soon take over for all the other parts.
It does. One of my key factors is when Pauletta will say to me sometimes, what are you so irritable about? Or what are you being so grouchy about? Because I'm never irritable or grouchy with her most of the time. But if I am, that pretty much shows me there's something going on in my life somewhere else that's got my attention. And I go to that tool. That's where I go because that helps me think about it. I think about where am I at here? Where am I at here? Where am I? Oh my, I'm totally off here. That's why I'm out of balance or out of harmony or whatever. I mean, I've used that for, I think, I learned it from Maxwell maybe, but I think Ziegler done one. I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot.
I don't know who originated it, but I saw it before Zig was a thing.
Yeah. So you've,
Saw
I
it
mean,
in
it's been around for
1974.
been around for a long time.
Yeah. And it's just a
Yeah.
helpful tool. Well, let's back off for a second.
I want to just comment just 1 second
Yeah.
about, you just made a comment that was really interesting. You said, if you find the ones that are furthest away from 10 or
Yeah,
whether
from
it's
ideal. Yeah.
that will start dominating your life. And the thought that, did I understand that right? Because the thought that came to me was somebody who has maybe like on a 0 to 10, maybe 3 regarding his physical health. He's working all the time. He's doing fun stuff. He's not taking care of his body. Eventually the body's going to break down and all your attention's going to have to go on your body to fix it.
That's it. If you think of them as people, 8 people standing there, competing for your attention.
Yeah.
Mental, physical, family, social, spiritual, career, financial, emotional, right? You got 8 people. And they're all standing there saying, hey, pay attention to me. You say, hey, okay, I'll get to you, but I'm going to work with this guy for right now. Well, there's going to be a point where the neglected one has been neglected too long, and it's going to say, my turn, we're going to the hospital. My turn, we're having an emotional breakdown. My turn, we're having a relationship problem. My turn, we're going to bankruptcy court. My turn, whatever. So whichever part of it might turn, we're depressed, if, spiritual, if you don't address the needs of your soul, your spirit on a pretty regular basis, and make time for that, then there's going to be a disturbance in the force that's going to lead you to a point of what's the use? Why bother? Who cares anymore? Just a point of despair and desperation that ends up in depression.
Yeah, I've seen that in
Yeah.
just even regarding the hospital, people, you see that all the time, but
Yeah.
you might see people who just like, you know what? I'm gonna just work on play and work in the fun part of my life, and they go broke. And then all their attention goes on, how do I pay the mortgage? How do I pay for this? How do I pay for that? Because they didn't put enough emphasis on the financial part.
Christina, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just really quick, I love to add to this, and I apologize for this disruption
No,
of me joining late and all that, you guys.
Happened, but I'll take the blame.
Thank you. But Jay, I love that you're digging into this, because when I started doing this with Jim earlier, the weakest link for me, or where I was finding that was happening exactly what he's describing, was financial. And it's not because I don't make a good income, it's because I was not being a good steward of money.
There you
And
go.
so I started on this rant, I'm on this hard press, and I've got some other points of accountability in my life as well, where I'm paying off debt like nobody's business. Like, I don't even want to spend $10 on something like that. You know what I mean? Like and I haven't lived like that, because I don't want to end up, I already could feel the stress of having debt. I could already feel all that growing. And it was like this underlying hum that was eating away inside and robbing me from joy, from focus on my business, from everything. Very subconscious, though. It's very sneaky.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
really
that's the
appreciate
thing.
that kind of example.
Most people, if
Christina,
you
thank
talk
you.
to depressed people, most depressed people aren't sure why they're depressed. They know what to complain about, but they're not sure why they feel a sense of emptiness or a sense of futility. What's the use, or whatever it happens to be. Well, the stages of stress, it tends to go from stasis, which would be, let's say that's normal, healthy position. It becomes first boredom. Now, I love this line from my wife, Paula. Our son, when he was a teenager, went out for the evening and he came back home, and Paula said, "So how was the party?" He said, "It was boring." And here comes the gold. She said, "Well, you were there." And I thought, happy dance, put that one in a frame. That's the most beautiful thing I've heard in years. Brilliant, brilliant. If the meeting is boring and you've got any power at all to be a participant in that meeting, change the mix. You were there, right? And so when you think about it, the people say, well, life is boring. Well, that's because they're not thinking about what matters to them. They're looking for the world to bring to them what they will like or value, right? They're waiting as a entitled recipient rather than a proactive creator. And the whole point of our existence as unique beings is that we are creators. And when we don't create, we feel useless. So what is creating? Well, it could be building something, but basically it's having a purpose, a reason, a cause, having a goal, having a passion, something that matters to you. So I spend a lot of time in the Experts Academy process, talking with people about getting clear on what matters to you and what that looks like in all of its various forms in your life, so that we can control the ones we can. And then we just surround or corral the ones we can't.
Great.
Yeah. Very good. Is there more to that, Christina, that you wanted to say? Nope. Okay, good. Wednesday, I had a discussion on Wisdom Parlor, and I was talking about basically group insanity, talking about how you can have a rational group of people together and somehow an emotional issue gets presented to them and gets traction. And then all of a sudden, the group tilts from a rational group to a completely irrational group that's all about whatever that thing is. A good
Mhm.
example of that was the George Floyd riots. Those weren't riots about George Floyd. George Floyd was a drug addict and a lifelong criminal who was pretty much a sociopath if you look back at his earlier track record. But he died at the hands of a cop in a way that it appeared the cop was killing him instead of controlling him to be arrested. And let's assume that's the case. Okay, fine. Is that an injustice that's so rare and so outrageous that the nation should destroy cities, burn police departments, tear down statues that have been around for generations, and hurt each other? No, not a particularly good response. Okay, that was total insanity. But if you talked with the people who were caught up in that, rational thought was not allowed. That's the point I wanted to talk about, not the George Floyd example. That was just an example. I could give you lots of others, but, and they wouldn't be political necessarily. But rational thought becomes excluded. I mean, you go to the people that are caught up in this passion, and you could call this stampede if it was a group of cows. You could call it mob mentality if it was a lynch mob or something like that. But it's where people get so caught up in their emotion, whatever that emotion happens to be, that they look rational, practical facts in the eye and say, I don't care. It's justified anyway. Right? And that's scary as hell. But when you're running a board meeting, a lot of times in a very benign version of this, it'll come up. Like you'll have a motion, someone says, let's say I'm reflecting on my past presidency of the National Speakers Association. We had 35 chapters. And I remember a time, I'm going to paraphrase and fabricate this a little bit to make the example instead of giving you a historical fact. The board of directors, 19 people sitting around a table, and we're talking about the importance of chapters. Okay, what is the National Association? It's a gathering of people committed to the same overall cause, right? American Medical Association, Bar Association, Speakers Association. It's just a group of people committed to a common cause, right? That's an association, all right? And what is a chapter? A chapter is a local or regional gathering of the people who are committed to this cause. That seems logical to me. Does that make sense to you? So if it's the National Speakers Association and you're in Atlanta, the gathering of members there is simply a local gathering of the larger body. Okay. So should the chapter have its own constitution, policy, and bylaws? Or should it embrace the national constitution, policy, and bylaws and express them in a local context? Which? What do you think, Jay?
I think it's kind of like goes to the issue of what we're going through now with
Say
state and
again?
federal. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, I think that's kind of like what we're going through now with the state and federal interpretation of laws. Like specifically, I think of Texas.
yeah,
You got the federal government allowing massive immigration into the country illegally.
yep,
It tacitly approves of it.
right,
And Texas saying our state is declaring an invasion and we're not gonna let that happen.
yeah,
So there's this battle of states. So Texas has got their own interpretation of things. So I think it's necessary sometimes to have that.
Yeah, so you have to have, but it's got to be a local interpretation of the national law. If it's an association, not states, I'm not talking about that. That's different. The states are sovereign. The national is a body they created to help them coordinate between each other, right? We are the United States of America, not the United Citizens of America. If we were, popular vote would control everything.
Yeah.
But the states rule. We are the United States. Well, the NSA is not the United Chapters. It's not the national chapters of Speakers Association. It is the National Speakers Association. It's a body of members, professional society of members, and the chapters are a local gathering of those. So we're in a board meeting and someone talks about how the chapters need the involvement of veteran members. And so he puts on the table a motion that we require the veteran members to attend the local chapters. Now, all of a sudden, something that I joined or you joined to advance your profession is putting a requirement on your behavior.
Mhm.
This doesn't work at all because the members are sovereign, not the chapters and not the national headquarters, right?
Wow.
Anyway, this guy said, you know, the chapters need this, and poor chapters, let's all sympathize with the chapters. Let's all sympathize with the family of George Floyd. Okay, so the mood in the room shifted from rational decision-making to let's save the baby seals. Let's save the poor chapters. And so when we went to readiness for a vote, they were ready to pass rules that were not only not enforceable, would have been a cancer on the association itself. And thank heavens we didn't do that. But there was a mood in the room that had shifted in sympathy to a point where, yeah, I know, Jim, I know this doesn't make sense and it's not practical, but it's the right thing to do. Meaning it feels the way I want to feel, so let's do it anyway, right? Dangerous stuff. So what I tell it, to take this into a different application altogether, what I tell clients when they hire me as their speaker is I tell them, if there's an emergency, I promise in writing to be the calmest person in the room. What do you mean by that? If the building catches on fire and I'm at the microphone, I will take the responsible action to guide the people to safety. And I will know in advance how to get there because I'll have checked out the exits before I began my speech. And I've had occasions where I've had to do that, multiple occasions. If there is a medical emergency in the room and someone's dying or in danger, then I will see to it that the appropriate response is done. If someone in the room gets way out of line, I will handle it to the extent that my role is appropriate to handle it. If I should say, whoa, Christina, this is your meeting, I don't have the authority to do this, would you please take charge? Then I'll do that. But if I'm the only guy in the room with a microphone and everybody else is feeling threatened or afraid, then it's my job to get them to a sense of safety next. Does that make sense? Okay. And that's just a matter of you and me being more committed to what works, what's rational, what's critical thinking, what's reasonable, what's appropriate, instead of what's popular.
No.
Or what's the strongest feeling in the room. Now, here's another example of that. And I know I'm pulling diverse examples from all over the world, and I hope they don't lead you down a bunch of cul-de-sacs and make this too confusing. But in a comedy club, if you go to the early show, let's say you go 6 o'clock, something like that, and you stay around till the later show. The early show is going to have the weakest comedians. The people that are getting started in their career, looking at open mic, they want to go try it out. Got a new story I want to test. You know, you can see Stand Up, the movie with Tom Hanks from several years ago, and get a good sense of what that little world is like. But in a comedy club, typically the novices are going to be on early and the headliner is going to be on later. Paula and I lived in La Jolla, California. There was a comedy store right there in La Jolla where Robin Williams and a bunch of other people had kind of gotten their start there, and the one in LA, the Improv. And I've been involved with both of those places. All of the early comedians are filthy. They use bathroom humor, sex humor, drug humor, put down humor. It all comes from a place of no thinking and doing whatever's popular. Whatever will get a good audience response. They are, what do you call it? Not patronizing, it's patronizing, but there's another word. Something to the audience. That word will pop into my head in a minute or so. Later in the evening, you got the headliner.
Gratuitous,
Say it again.
gratuitous.
Gratuitous is part of it, but there's a word for it, and it didn't come into my head, but it's like patronizing. It's that kind of a word. Anyhow, later in the evening, headliner, clean enough for broadcast television. Not always, because they've got blue humor too, but they don't use drug and bathroom and sex humor and put down humor as their main thing. They might use that in a line or two, but go back and look at Robin Williams. Oh my gosh. That was, that's a work of art. You look at any of the other major headliners, and some of them may get really nasty with their language, but their humor is brilliant. Okay. How does that illustrate my point? The point is, without rational thought, without thinking about the purpose of being there and going beyond what's easy, you don't get out of the stampede mentality. You don't get to the true riches. You don't get to the client that says, I don't care where you go or what you do, I'm in. I'm in. Take me with you, right? So how do we apply all this stuff? I would say first thing, get crystal clear on what you care about and what it is you're really trying to do. And that's not easy. That's why I keep coming back to it in different ways throughout this whole process. I mean, Christina, when you came with me in the first place, you were crystal clear on a lot of things. You didn't need help, but you wanted more. And some of the ahas you've achieved along the way have been fun to watch, where you go, whoa, well, that makes it, now I get it, now I like it even better, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So give me some feedback, folks. What did you glean from all this rambling on my part? Jay, I'm going to come to you first.
I sell on Amazon. We're close to 8 figures a year on Amazon sales. And when I started in 2015, all the courses that you took to become an Amazon taught you to find a product that was already doing well. So you have to do a search and then private label it, which put your name on it and market it better.
Yeah.
And the one thing they advised you not to do was create your own products, create your own.
No kidding.
Because there's no history, there's no proof behind it. And I talked to other Amazon sellers and I went, I mean, I'm a beginner, but like if everybody is copying everybody else, the people they're copying have to have the original thought in order to be copied. So like, that's not a model that's sustainable. It's not sustainable. You have to come up with original ideas. And I did come up with original ideas and I became very successful with it, but I had to go with my own, not follow the herd.
Yeah,
It's tough when you're in that situation. You feel like you're doing something wrong, or that you're not quite smart enough, or that you are going to fail because otherwise everybody else will be doing it if it was successful. So it's tough to have that, what you're saying, that not have that herd mentality or that group think.
do you know Jody Rifkin?
No.
No, she's an Amazon reseller and has quite a substantial business, and she's in California, West Coast. And she was in Going Pro back a season, one of the earlier cohorts. And that's I was just curious.
Okay, no, I'd love to meet her.
There you go. Kevin. Feedback, reflections, comments, and questions. You like that?
I think just still going the same thing, just of, to be who we were created to be, we have to go against the flow.
Mhm.
We have to go against the direction, like that, once again, that, as Jay said, that herd mentality, as you mentioned. I think that, to me, when I feel resistance is when I feel like I'm heading in the right direction. I mean, I really like to feel that headwind, because then I think, okay, I'm pushing through. And I think it's that headwind and that resistance that really builds up our strength and our ability. And while you're doing that, you also get a sense of discerning, are you resisting something you should or something you shouldn't? I think you get that discernment in with that. So, I mean, the exercise that we went through, you clarified. I mean, I think I was looking at it a little different way. I'd never seen anything like that before, particularly. So as I went through that and done that, after you said it, my mind started clicking, and I thought a lot of more thoughts I need to add to mine now. I mean, I never put in there that I wanted to be, physically fit. I didn't put in there that I wanted, there's a few things that I thought that are very important, because if I'm not physical fit, all these other things that I want to do and be, I can't be.
Right?
I mean, if my cholesterol puts me to where I'm having to, have a heart surgery and I'm laid up for 12 weeks, and I can't do this stuff, I can't do the other things. So, you focus on, like, going back to that wheel of life, or whatever you want to call that, is all those categories matter. If your finances aren't in order, you can't do everything else.
Right.
I mean,
None of them are more important than the other. They're all uniquely important, and comparison is just an exercise in futility. There's no value to comparing one category to the other category, because in order to live an abundant life, all categories have to be addressed ultimately. I mean, some of them you can delay longer than others.
mhm.
Like if you start with a good financial base, you can delay being good with money a little bit longer than other people could. But that's just a situational thing that applies to that. So, people say, well, I don't, emotional to have emotional expression and emotional satisfaction. Why would I want to do that? When I've got money to make.
Mhm.
Because if there's no joy, if you ignore your sadness or your heartbreak, or if you never cry, if you never scream in excitement, if you never go, whee, if you never laugh till your belly hurts, then part of you is not living. It's lying dormant, and it's interfering with the rest without you even realizing. It's subtle. It's all kind of under the, like a current running under the surface of the water, and you don't see the waves. Yeah, I like that. I had a thought a minute ago that I wanted to share, and it just escaped me. So thank you for that. Christina, you're on.
So to add to that too, what you said, Kevin, what I'm recognizing now is there's also, and Jim, you were just touching on it, that ripple piece. There is a negative impact in all of those categories to other people I care about. And that's the part that I sometimes forget.
Yeah, exactly.
Like finances has caused my husband and I strain in our relationship. I mean, not a surprise, right? How many divorces end because of financial.
Sure.
And again,
Yep, by the way, the
great
answer is
news
none. The answer is none.
yeah,
But the finance
none.
adds stress to the load and causes whatever else is not right to break.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you know, you could say, well, our relationship broke up because I had to be a caregiver or they had to be a caregiver for me. No, it was something deeper than that, different than that. That was the extra pressure that broke the thing that was supporting it. Right? Because
I see what you're saying.
you know, two people who are having financial difficulty, if their financial difficulty is a matter of money, then it can be solved with money. But
Yeah.
if it's a matter of one person's spending habits versus the others, that's not money. That's a disagreement in decision making, which is rooted in why they make those kind of decisions. And so that why is your real problem, not
Yeah,
the where.
yeah,
That makes sense?
Totally.
yeah.
I'll give you
Yeah,
an
you're right,
example.
because as he and I have gotten on the same page with all this, and we've come to agreement on how we want to work to
Yeah.
our goals on this, now that cohesiveness is there, so it's like the underlying piece of it.
With
We
that
weren't
together,
cohesive on it,
you
yeah,
could be flat broke or filthy rich, either
right,
one, and there wouldn't be tension.
yeah,
You know, I mean, there'd be tension, but it wouldn't be relationship tension. And there are two types of tension. This could be a whole nother seminar. One is task tension. You know, there's a rock on my foot and it hurts and I need to fix it. Well, as soon as you get the rock off, except for the bruise, life is good, you know, and everything goes on. Problem solved. Relationship tension is not related to the task. It's in the nature of the connection between the people
Mhm.
and the way they communicate and what they care about and what they've agreed to and what they have come to expect from each other and how clearly they tell the truth and the, you know, good news and bad news, whether they give praise, whether they accept criticism or correction or input, you know, all of those things. That's what I'm saying. Relationship tension has to be addressed in the relationship because it can't be resolved in the task.
Mhm.
And task tension is just, oh, we need a better computer. Okay, better computer arrives. Ta-da, that problem went away. Oh, we need the truck doesn't work. Why? The tire's flat. Well, let's replace the engine. Let's fix the tire. You know, and then it's fine. Quick story. Yesterday, had a long conversation with a guy who's a financial advisor. And he said, Jim, he said, I think I've been doing people a disservice. I said, how? He said, I've helped a lot of people retire, you know, get control of their money so that they could retire. And now they're not happy. I said, why are they not happy? He said, it's just, you know, they don't know what to do. And so they're kind of depressed. And I said, and you think you caused that? He said, yeah, because I helped him retire. And I said, there are two forms of retirement: retirement from and retirement to.
Mhm.
My dad retired from the telephone company after 35 years. He retired to an empty room. He didn't have something next. So he went hunting and fishing a lot. He hung out with some buddies that had a farm outside town. And so he'd help them raise crops and bring home some vegetables. And that was nice. And he had a lot of spare time with people. And they drank a lot. And that caused some problems too. But Dad's health deteriorated from his early retirement, age 62, through age 80. By the time he got to 80, he had hardening of the arteries from head to toe and passed away way earlier than his physical genetics would have had him passing away. And it was for lack of having a purpose to get up in the morning and go forward. And going back to what Kevin said a while ago about resistance, you know, about working out and that sort of thing. What I said to my friend was, I said, you did them a service. You didn't help them retire. You helped them become financially independent or financially secure. They chose to retire. And the fact that they didn't retire to something meant that they left their life empty but had money. He said, yeah, and they got depressed and, you know, that's just a sad thing and I feel guilty. I said, well, stop, because you didn't participate in that decision-making process. And I said, by the way, when you retire, by the way, I said in 1974 in a goal-setting exercise, I will never retire. My body and mind might retire before I get ready to, but I'm not in for that. I want to stay engaged as long as I'm breathing and as long as I can think clearly. So I don't need to retire from anything because I already found the two that I want to stay at until life doesn't exist anymore. So I'm on my path, passion and purpose. I've got it, right? Thank heavens. And I got that early enough in life, around age 30, that I was able to really do something with it. But I've had people come to me in their 60s and 70s and say, Jim, what do I do? And they never thought about it. They were like my dad, working at something they didn't care about. They were interested in it. They liked their company and all that, but there was no passion, right? And so I said to my friend, the advisor, I said, in order to be alive, you must have resistance. If you raise a plant in a greenhouse environment, it could be killed so easily, you could knock it out like that because it never had to struggle. But you put it out in a yard where there's difficult weather, where there are drought conditions and flood conditions and lightning and rain and bugs and every other thing under the sun, that tree is going to be hardwood that you can use to build a table that'll live 200 years. For life to continue, resistance is required. If you don't have difficulty, cause difficulty. And you say, Jim, that's just absurd. Well, I got a suspicion all four of us do that already. Really? I don't do that. You don't? Do you exercise? Of course I do. You mean you don't have to do it? You choose to lift something that you didn't have to lift? You choose to run to a place you didn't need to go? You choose to do sit-ups when you were already seated? Why on earth would you do that? Well, because I need the right? So exercise is simply an illustration of what life in all of its categories requires. If you don't have difficulty, then for heaven's sakes, go shopping for difficulty. Because that's where you prove there's a reason to be alive. That's where you make a difference. That's where you matter. If there weren't a need, we wouldn't get any work. So embrace it.
Good stuff. Hey, guys, I do have another meeting. I
Yeah.
need to jump on. It was at 4 as
That's
well.
okay. I've got a commitment to always end these by an hour and 15, and we're
Yeah.
pretty much close to that.
Do we have a
So
homework this time?
say again,
Do we have a homework this time?
your homework this time is just continue through the Acorns to Oak Trees videos.
Mhm.
But don't watch them to complete them.
Yeah.
They're not lessons. They're a counseling session between me and you. So really give some thought to that. And Christina, you know, let me know what you want to focus on next. Christina's been through that a couple times and she's
I
been,
have homework from you that I haven't done, Jim.
okay. Is that the article?
Yeah.
Yeah. Simplify the article. And what I'd like you to do today is write the first 11 words.
Okay.
That's all. Don't write 12 unless you want to. 11 words, okay?
Okay, got it.
Send them to me tomorrow and I'll help you.
All right, you got it.
All right.
Thank you, Jim. Thanks, guys. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you, Christina.
Good to
You
see you
too.
all.
Thank
By the
you.
way,
See you, Kevin.
Kevin and Jay, I gave her and Sandy an assignment the other day. We were talking about expressing your brand. I said, write a short article, a page or two, a short article like you were going to put it in a magazine and you're explaining what your brand is to the reading audience. And in doing so, it forces you to get better at articulating it, kind of like an elevator talk does. But it gives you a little more elbow room than an elevator talk.
Mhm.
Okay?
Your personal brand or your product brand?
Your personal, where you want to go with this experience,
Oh, okay.
that brand. And please spread the word about the Expert Summit in La Jolla. That is going to be such an awesome experience. I'm getting responses now every day from my colleagues who say, I want to be there, or from other people who say, here's a great idea. And I'm going, oh my God, yes. So it's going to be one of those that folks are going to be talking about a long time after it's over. I love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all.
I
Thank you.
Bye, guys. See
genuinely
you next
am
week.
pleased you are here.
Thank
All right,
you.
bye.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.